Welcome to TOMMO'S Race CHINWAG, your favourite Formula 1 podcast produced by a British biased bloke with a massive Swede full of very questionable wheel knowledge. Broadcast live on YouTube and after the fact on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. We have a good old natter about each and every Grand Prix of the season. My name's Tommo, let's talk about it. And good evening everyone, my name's Tommo and welcome to my post-race CHINWAG for the 2025 Sao Paulo Grand Prix. And we are joined by Minton, he is here. The boy wonder is amongst us. Hello, mate. You seem very, very tired. Look at him. He's literally kipping on me. Look at him. He's so gorgeous. If you are audio only, I do apologise. You are missing out on the Minton content. But as you can see, this little one's very tired. And you know what? So am I. But we're going to persist. We're going to push through. Because I tell you what, that was a hell of a race. That was a hell of a race. Right. To my shoulder you go, because I'm going to need my hands free to do some poles. Minton, up there you go, son. Are you balanced? I think you're balanced. Excellent. Let's talk about it, everyone. Welcome. Jakobir, Rainer, Lou, Spark, Nikolai, J. Martin, Awkward MMA, Tim, Alex, Andrew, Violet Citizen, Emma, Yard Animal, Stephen, Jesper, Elmir, Andy, Spanky, JM, Viol, and the rest of you. I appreciate you all taking the time. We have a lot to talk about. This was a sprint weekend. I didn't do a post-sprint CHINWAG, so we're going to briefly talk about the sprint first and foremost. Not first and foremost. We'll cover the sprint maybe in the middle, just as a little sprinkling, because it's not as interesting as the race. There, of course, was a big interesting outcome with a certain few drivers having a little incident with the water, as Ferrari would put it, I suppose. It's just the water, right? It's just the way it goes. Did you find the remote? No, I didn't. We're going without the bright lights as well in the background, and then you can kind of let me know. I'm also wearing grey, so the shades are a bit down at the minute, but Minton's bringing the vibes with his beautiful brown fur, and of course we've got some pink overlays coming very soon. Must be the water, exactly, Famke. Must be the water. So yes, sprint race, kind of a bit ludicrous with what happens. I mean, look, at the end of the day, Lando, does he bring water onto the track? That's what Kimi Antonelli says. And then Oscar, Nico and Franco all appear to take lines that they would have taken in the laps prior. It was on lap 9, wasn't it? That the crash happened. And all three of them go off in the exact same place. So it seems pretty clear that Lando's clipped a bit of water, brought it onto the track. It's not caused him to break traction. Kimi sees the water. You can see he stays way off the curb. But of course, Oscar is that bit further back, doesn't see what Kimi's avoiding, and then hits the water. Nico hits the water. Franco hits the water. And Oscar is out. And he goes from losing 1 point relative to his championship rival to losing 8 points relative to his championship rival. So, ouch. Very, very tough day for Oscar Piastri. Was he unlucky? I think that is more bad luck than anything else when you're driving. But then again, in those conditions, riding the curbs is always risky and perhaps unnecessary risk. I think Oscar was pushing, right, because he was hoping to get ahead of Antonelli. He was hoping to catch Antonelli and get that one extra point, because every point counts. So it's a bit 50-50 bad luck to, it's a driver error at the end of the day, as it was for Nico, as it was for Franco. But that's how the sprint race went. Anyway, Max definitely didn't win the sprint race. It was a difficult weekend in qualifying for Red Bull, that's for sure. But yeah, Lando won the sprint race ahead of Kimi Antonelli and George Russell. But now let's talk about the actual race, shall we? That's what we're actually here for. Hello, everyone. Hello, Racing Statistics. Welcome. Thank you for coming along. And can I please get a race rating out of 10? Can you give me a number? I'm actually going to, I'm just going to start the poll straight away, Minton. You're balancing here, so don't do anything silly, okay? A race rating, because surely, so I almost wrote race tating. Race rating, I mean, look, we've got to go. It's either a 10, a 9, an 8, or a 7 or lower. I mean, really. And we're talking about the race, the Sunday Grand Prix, okay, as a race rating, please. So thank you for all giving your numbers. Now, fill out the poll. Let me know what you think. Interlagos, was it Bronda was calling it the Brazilian Brands Hatch. I love Brands Hatch. Brands Hatch was my local track growing up. So I mean, I want to go to Interlagos anyway, but if it's anything like Brands Hatch, then I'm all over it. So, I mean, whether it rains or doesn't, which we were expecting rain, actually, we didn't really get any, did we? Apart from a little bit of moisture on track prior to the Grand Prix, the sprint race starting, rain wasn't really a factor at all this weekend. Again, apart from water being what it took out Oscar Piastri at the end of the day. So, yeah, I mean, even when it's dry, you can still have an unbelievable Grand Prix with, I mean, the amount of overtakes in that race. The amount of overtakes. I don't know what is the number one most overtakes in a Grand Prix ever, but I reckon someone's totted it up, and I reckon it's right up there. The undulation as well. It's the undulation, Lowell. Undulation. Superb. Order of the day was the undulation. So many overtakes. Obviously, there's two primary overtaking positions, but even then, you can still chuck one up the inside into, I don't do corner names, don't do corner numbers, though that information doesn't stick in my head. But you had overtakes galore, glorious track, love it, Interlagos. Might actually be, there's something about Silverstone, there's the British bias in me, does love Silverstone. I don't think it's just the British bias in me, I do, it's a banger. You don't have to be British to acknowledge that Silverstone's a banger, but I tell you what, Interlagos might actually be number one. It might actually well be number one. What are you saying? Race rating. 11% of you have given it a 10 out of 10. 39% of you have given it a 9. 40% of you have given it an 8. 9% of you have given it a 7 or lower. In fact, you're equally split now between 9 and 8. For me, it's a 9. It's a 9. The only thing it didn't have was a scrap for the win. Lando Norris was comfortable pretty much throughout. If it had had a scrap for the win, if it had had someone battling with Lando, not necessarily overtaking or beating him, but just a scrap for the win, that would have made it a 10 out of 10 Grand Prix. Other than that, it had absolutely everything. Right at the end, obviously, you had Max chasing down Kimi. You had Oscar chasing down George. And then you had, like, everyone else seemingly, like, it was mad. It was like the start of a stint. When it literally cut to that angle at the end, and I'm looking at the timings here, right? So you had Liam Lawson, right, 52.642 seconds behind race winner Lando Norris, and he was P7, was Liam Lawson. You go back to Fernando Alonso in P14, which is tough down the office for Aston Martin, absolutely. It was looking promising at one stage. They were so quick in sprint quality, weren't they? 55.766. So 3 seconds covered P7 to P14. So much scrapping amongst the midfield. Honestly, glorious. And it just, like, these cars are so close right now. And Interlagos is a track that allowed that overtaking to actually happen. It's so good, so good, so good. Like, it had everything apart from a scrap for the win. It had absolutely everything. So to me, that is a 9 out of 10 race if I've ever seen it. Right, Minton, have you had enough? Do you want to go back to your mother? I think he does. Right. Before we carry on, say your goodbyes for now to young Minton. I'm just gonna take him. Oh, there you go. Hey. Good boy, look at him. Look how shiny he is. Right, you got a bit of sleepy dust, mate. Let me get that for you. There we go. Right, okay. Let's go. Let's take you back. I'll be 2 seconds. Through here. And just like that, Minton is gone. For now, anyway. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more Minton content in the near future. Good night, Minton. Good night, my king. Couldn't have put it better myself, Alex. So, yes, 9 out of 10 Grand Prix, as far as I'm concerned. And also, by the way, bunch of super chats I see. I will get onto super chats very, very shortly. Appreciate you all for supporting what I do. Really do. So, quali results. Let's talk about quali first of all, which happened on Saturday evening because, of course, sprint race, normal quali, normal race. Lando Norris on pole ahead of Kimi Antonelli, rapid this weekend. Absolutely rapid. The 19-year-old was quicker than George, seemingly at all times, pretty much this weekend, which is very, very impressive. Charles Leclerc, P3 in his Ferrari. I mean, I think he did a stellar. It's one of those, it's easy to overlook because of how up and down the Ferrari performance has been. But I mean, Charles P3, I think that's pretty huge. Oscar P4, not great. Not great. Again, just another weekend where he's just flat out slower than Lando. Like, what, 3/10 off he was. 3/10 off. No, not 3/10, sorry. 3.375, so almost 4/10 off Lando. And almost 2/10 off in sprint quality. So not quite as bad in sprint quality relative to Lando Norris. But Lando did clutch up at the end. He messed up his first lap in quality, didn't he, Lando? And then his second push lap just sensational. Loved it. Oscar, P4. Hadjar, P5. Massive from Isaac. Superb job in qualifying once again from Isaac Hadjar. Love to see it. George Russell, P6 again. Struggling. It was difficult, wasn't it? The conditions in qualifying. A lot of drivers were struggling with the wind. It must be so challenging when you're driving cars that are so aero dependent and you've got wind gusts knocking about. It is impossible to know what you're kind of going into in terms of you're approaching this corner. Is it going to gust? Is it not going to gust? Are you going to have a tailwind, headwind? To what extent? And you're kind of relying on your instincts as a driver to get it done. So fair play to most of the drivers for keeping it clean this weekend. Lawson P7, so good day for Racing Bulls in qualifying. Ollie Behrman, another Q3 appearance for young Oliver. Pierre Gasly, P9 in quali. P9 in quali, Pierre Gasly. Very good. Good to see an Alpine up there again for the first time in a long time. And then Hulkenberg also in Q3. Alonso Albon Hamilton out in Q2. Not happy with Lewis. Stroll Sainz. Verstappen P16. Tsunoda P19. Bortoleto didn't participate in quali, of course, because of his absolutely horrific shunt at the end of the sprint race. Not good. Fortunately, he's all right because that was a bloody scary one. That was like jeez, man. It just goes to show the fact he could just walk out of that. How much F1 safety has just moved on, and it's still an incredibly dangerous sport. For the fact he can just walk away from that is insane, to be quite frank. But yeah, both Red Bulls out in Q1 for the first time. Is it ever? Or like, is it No, wasn't it Max's first Q1 exit ever? I want to say, without there being like a problem. I'm pretty sure that was the stat that was getting chucked around. First double since 2005 or 6, wasn't it? First double Red Bull exit in Q1. Jeez, man. Jeez, that's crazy. But it just goes to show, and I think this weekend proved more than any how the Red Bull, with the right setup, with the right window, can win Grand Prix, but without that window, and we've known about this for a long time with the Red Bull, where so many drivers in the other car have had complaints about it, but also Max has made his complaints clear over the years about the operating window of this car. And when it is so narrow, you don't have to get it massively wrong to be P16 in qualifying, because then you look at him today in the race, and without the puncture and starting from the back, probably the quickest car on track was Max Verstappen in the Grand Prix. Mad that sway, isn't it? How quickly it can go from one extreme to the other, isn't it? But yeah, that's how quali went, which means the head-to-heads have changed somewhat. After 26 of 30 qualifying sessions in total so far this season, of course, this was a sprint weekend, so we got 2 qualifying sessions, which means 2 more results to add to the averages. And here is how they look most of the way through the season. The individual results now aren't making too much of a difference, but the smallest gap on average is still Piastri Norris, and Piastri is still ahead by 5 thousandths of a second. Just goes to show Oscar had that advantage, baked in pretty early doors in the season. It's a long year, and he was on average ahead. And over recent weekends, it's been Lando. In fact, what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 in a row, 6, 7, or 7 in the last 8. 5 in a row for Lando over Oscar, 7 in the last 8 for Lando over Oscar head-to-head. And that means that gap is only 0.005 of a second now. Albon Science, obviously, Williams definitely didn't help Carlos's cause either. But Albon got a couple of dubs over Sainz in qualifying, so that gap's now 18 thousandths in favour of Albon, but it's basically evens. Hulkenberg over Bortoleto as well. Hulk's got a few dubs now in a row after Bortoleto was doing the business for a while, wasn't he? And obviously we didn't get to compare a lap in normal qualifying because he couldn't make normal qualifying. But in sprint qualifying, Hulkenberg out-qualified Bortoleto by about 0.2. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in a row for Hulkenberg over Bortoleto. So that momentum seems to have shifted. The meme is real. And Behrman Ocon, I mean, that's great. That's over 0.1 now. And it wasn't that long ago where Ocon was ahead of Behrman on average, just fractionally. And now Behrman ahead of Ocon by 0.129 of a second. Leclerc, Hamilton 168, Hadjar, Lawson 180, Gasly, Colapinto 187, Russell Antonelli 241. Of course, Kimi doing the job this weekend in both qualifying sessions, didn't he? Yet by 2.257 in normal quali and 0.155 in sprint quali. Kimi got the job done over George, so bringing down that average ever so slightly. And then Alonso still ahead of Stroll by 0.317, and Verstappen, of course, ahead of Tsunoda by 0.636 of a second, which again is just, it's mad how much bigger that gap is than any other teammate pairing in F1. It's pretty crazy. Right, so excellent. Head-to-head's done. Race results are as follows. Spoiler alert. Lando Norris, Kimi Antonelli, Max Verstappen, George Russell, Oscar Piastri, Ollie Behrman. And then Liam Lawson, like I say, P7, down to Fernando Alonso, P14, split by like 3 seconds. Crazy at the end. Crazy work. But yeah, Lawson, Hadjar, Hulkenberg, Gasly. Gasly gets a point in the Grand Prix, a point in the sprint as well, which is well received. Both Williams out of the points. Both Ferraris do not finish. Hamilton had many escapades early doors, drove into the back of Colapinto as well, which kind of ended his race, didn't it? In the end, he kept pushing on, but he had too much damage to that car. Far too much damage to that car to really realistically carry on. Of course, Leclerc getting caught up in the Piastri Antonelli incident that we will talk about shortly, don't you worry. Bortoleto as well out on lap 1 after contact with Stroll. What a shame for Gabby. What a shame. Actually gutted for him. His home Grand Prix, so much expectation, and it couldn't have gone much worse, could it? It could not have gone much worse. And that's how things finished. That is how things finished. Right. Tell you what, should we do a few little super chats, right? Appreciate you again for supporting what I do. Thank you very much. Thank you, Jesse, for super chat. Lando Norris now 2 for 2 on race wins when watching with the American British bias mum. Well, there you go. I think she's fully bought in. Cheers from Tennessee. British bias mum in Tennessee. What's the geography on that one? Let me know. Thank you, Jesse. Appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Hoppy. Despite Norris being in prime position to win the championship, Verstappen stole the show today. Genuinely incredible. Yeah, I mean, look, Max's recovery drive was absolutely top tier. No question. Red Bull somehow managed to... It's also even more impressive when you think that they just completely changed the setup. I think he ran a different... I read reports that they put the old floor on his car, but I'm not sure if that's confirmed or not. But either way, they pretty significantly changed the setup, and then just were like, right, you're just going to drive this now. You don't really know what it's going to feel like straight away, and then he's banging in fastest lap after fastest lap after fastest lap, and just all of a sudden he's like P4. It's crazy. But also, Lando just absolutely did the job in qualifying. kept the start sweet. Happy days. Like, as much as a 10-second gap to Max Verstappen, again, without the puncher, you think, wow, that's pretty mad. But at the same time, Lando did what he had to do. And he probably was managing as well, to some extent, was Lando. He didn't need, if you win by 10 seconds or 30 seconds, win's a win, right? Wins a win. Thank you, Mikel, as well, for the super chat. If Piastri remains out of form and Max remains a title contender, do you think Papaya Rules comes back? I think that I just don't think that's necessary now. Like, Lando's got such a gap. He's got such a gap, which we'll get into shortly, over Max, over Oscar, but particularly over Max. I don't think, I think now it's too much for Max to win this title. And Lando is looking very good. He's looking the most composed version of Lando Norris that I've ever seen. And he said it post-race to Jody and Palmer, like, I'm not looking at anything. I'm just focusing on my camp and keeping my head down, which is exactly what he should have been doing earlier. And I think it's working. It's paying dividends, not letting the noise of everything online and people like me and anyone and everyone talking and moaning and trolling. Like, you just got to keep your head in the game. And he's doing that now. And I think he's seeing the benefit of it, Absolutely seeing the benefit of it. Thank you, Gil, as well. What would you say have been the 3 best GPs in 25? Oh, my goodness. Oh, God, you're asking that. That's a tough question when I'm this tired. Gil, I'm not sure. Jill. Sorry, I'm not sure how to pronounce it. I'm not. Australia was a banger. Silverstone's always good. I need like a list of all the Grand Prix. I mean, this is definitely in my top 3 of the season. 100 million%. Absolute worldie. Yes, please. Thank you very much. So good. I mean, obviously, yeah, the Hulkenberg vibes in Silverstone were pretty cool. Baku's kind of an interesting one. Baku was fun. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. But this is definitely top 3. So thank you, Gil. This is definitely top 3. 100%. I mean, you can go back and look at my previous race ratings, I guess. And then whichever one I've rated highest, I guess, is that. That kind of makes sense. Thank you, Ratchet of Apex, as well. I think it's just amazing how much Max has been able to bounce back with these upgrades. Solid reminder of why he's probably the best driver right now. Yeah, look, even when the car isn't behaving, and listening to Max post-race, he was super complimentary of the team, like not giving up and just like trying to find a solution and being a bit bold and a bit aggressive. And Lauren Mekies kind of alluded to that as well, that they tried to be bold with the setup and it didn't work and they both go out in Q1. But sometimes you kind of, again, where he needs everything to work in his favour to win this championship, and this weekend didn't go well enough, and I think now that's the championship gone, to be honest. Which I was hoping it'd go down to the end, but I think Lando's driving too well at the minute, and I think he's too in it, and I think Lando's gonna get this done now. The way he's handled these last kind of few weekends, I think it's job done for Lando now, absolutely. But Max and obviously Oscar's done his thing for most of the season, and it's fallen away. It's a shame the way it's ended for Oscar, because I think a lot of people are just going to remember the end and choke it up as a bottle. But yeah, he's in his 3rd season of F1, and he was leading for the vast majority of this season. And you got to give him massive credit for that. But also you got to give Lando massive credit, and I think he's learnt from the experiences that he's had, which is good, because it's like, he had a debatable title challenge last year, started the season poorly, making too many mistakes, but he's like not allowed that to define the season, and he's bounced back, and he's been mustard the last few weekends, and that's absolutely the way forward. Absolutely the way forward. So I think Lando's got it. I do think he's got it. And Vettel won in his 3rd season. Was it his 3rd season when he won? Because he was 2007. He was Toro Rosso. Or was that 2008? No, it's 2008 he won in Toro Rosso. Was it 2007 he was in Sauber? I can't remember. My memory's been seriously challenged tonight. I'm so sorry. Third season at the team, wasn't it? Oh, was it? Yeah, BMW Sauber 07. But he only did, he didn't do the full season, did he? But either way. Very, 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 very promising weekend for Lando Norris. I think he's got it done. Anything can happen, but the way he's driving right now and the character he's cut in and how quickly he's up to speed in practice, and yeah, I think it's job done for LN, but we'll see. There's still plenty of time for things to change. So again, race results Brazil, Bosch. There you go. Which means these are the driver standings. After 21 of 24 rounds in the 2025 Formula 1 season, Lando Norris leads with 390 points over teammates Oscar Piastri on 366, which means that points difference is 24 points. Still less than a Grand Prix, a full Grand Prix win versus a DNF. Stranger things have happened, but again, I think that's, to Verstappen, 49 points, it's too much. Like this late in the season with 3 rounds to go, that's too big a gap. Oscar, if he can find something, but I mean, he needs to find something and hope that Lando takes a step back. And I said this, in my most recent video talking about their championship fight. If Lando keeps putting in performances like he did last round, and he's done it again this weekend, are the colours wrong? The colours are usually wrong. Stroll is not in a Racing Bulls, is he? Whoops. If he keeps doing it, and he's done it here, then he's got the title won. Absolutely. Maybe Lawson Stroll, that could be a little swap for next season, you never know. Otherwise, big movers here. Ollie Behrman in his Williams, 40 points, alongside Fernando Alonso. Carlos Sainz in his Haas, P13, very impressive. Liam Lawson in his Aston Martin on 36. Lance Stroll in his Racing Bulls on 32. So there's a bit, but ultimately these places don't really mean anything, do they? They don't really mean anything. But what does mean something is the team standings. 21 of 24 rounds complete. Positionally, Mercedes, P2 now. Ferrari fall from P2 to P4 in one weekend. So Mercedes 398, Red Bull 366, Ferrari 362. A big scoring weekend for the Mercedes boys. Absolutely. George and Kimi did the job. Williams 111. Didn't score a point this weekend. Racing Bulls on 82. Racing Bulls are 29 points behind Williams. That's not insurmountable. It's a stretch, but Williams might be feeling a little bit nervous. Maybe just a tad nervous, but they should be fine. No positional changes, so Racing Bull's still 6th, Aston Martin still 7th, Haas still 8th, Sauber still 9th, and Alpine, of course, still 10th, but Racing Bull's 82, Aston Martin 72, Haas 70. Haas are only 2 points behind Aston Martin. Is crazy work, considering where Haas were at the start of the year and how strong, relatively speaking, Aston were at the start of the year. That's kind of mad. And then Sauber 62 as well. They've still definitely got it in their locker to close that gap. Very interesting. A lot of prize money, as we say time and time again. And at least the colours match now. Exactly, Eduardo. At least the colours match properly now. Excellent. Right. I'm just going to take a little water break. It's 11:29 in the evening. We're half an hour in. I reckon we'll get this done within the hour. But take this opportunity. In fact, I'm not even going to tell you. I'm going to get me from the past to tell you. Enjoying this podcast, please give it a good rating. 5 stars would be lovely. A comment, engage however you can. It helps get the CHINWAG out to the world. Thank you, me from the past, in the old house as well. Throwback. Bangers and clangers, reflection. First of all, looking at mine, 1 out of 5 is not great. George Russell, race winner, no. Alex Albon, banger driver, no. Liam Lawson, clanger driver, no. Mercedes, banger team, I'm giving myself a point. Big points for Mercedes. P2, P4, jump to P2 in the Constructors. I think it's absolutely a banging weekend for the Mercedes-AMG Petronas Formula 1 team. And Clanger team, Racing Bulls, definitely not. Double points for them as well. So 1 out of 5 for me, which you might sit there and you might have a little chuckle. You might have a little giggle. Washed. Doesn't know what he's talking about. Well, you lot are worse. Race winner Max, no. Could have been, but no. Banger driver Lewis, no. Clanger driver Lando, hell no. Banger team Ferrari, you lot minus points, I swear. Clanger team Alpine, no, this is the one weekend they didn't clang. Gasly got points in both races. Crazy. Crazy work from you lot. Holy clang. Exactly that, Martin. Yeah, you lot, I thought I was bad, but then I saw yours and I was like, okay, I feel a bit better about myself, to be honest. Absolutely awful. Avkid, you're fading. We'll catch the rest of the stream tomorrow. Any of you, if you need to go to bed, go to bed, all right? I'll still be here, okay? Just pause it and just restart at 7 a.m. tomorrow morning. Bosh, we'll crack on. But yeah, bangers and clangers, I take the win. Have some of that. I only won with 1 point, but I'm taking that 1 point. I'm absolutely taking that 1 point. We deserve the biggest L. Absolutely, Vaporex. Absolutely. Right. Okay. But what about actual bangers and clangers then? What about actual bangers and clangers? Starting with mine, my choices. Choice, single choice. Only one choice, of course, for banger driver. And there are, of course, many candidates. Lando Norris, of course, candidate. Max Verstappen, of course, candidate. Ollie Behrman has to be a candidate, no doubt. However, I've not gone for any of them. I have gone Andrea Kimi Antonelli. He, this weekend, throughout the entire sprint, quali, race, normal quali, and normal race, outperformed George Russell, who, listen, when I said I think Max and Charles were the cut above, they're the best, and then there's the rest. Many George Russell fans were not happy. Fine. Maybe George is. I'll give you that. Let's say George is the second best driver in F1. But this weekend, Kimi was quicker at all points. Held off Max at the end. Contentious somewhat with his collision with Oscar, but ultimately not judged to be at fault. Not by the stewards anyway. 19-year-old Kimi Antonelli holding off Max at the end, delivering the performance he did this weekend, I think deserves banger driver. And that's why I'm giving it to him. That is why I'm giving it to him. Excellent. So well done, Kimi. But what about you? 998 of you voted. Didn't quite give you long enough to hit 1,000. But I needed to close the poll so then I could do the graphics, which will probably be wrong. But there you go. Thank you for voting. If you didn't see the poll for whatever reason, make sure you subscribe to the Tommo YouTube channel. You should see it in the community posts. Or follow me on Twitter at Tommo McCluskey. I don't post on Twitter so much anymore because it's pretty tough on your mental health sometimes. It's not the nicest place to be. But it's much nicer here on YouTube. So just, subscribe, notification bell as well. So then you'll definitely see the polls and the videos, hopefully, as long as YouTube is being good. So, your banger driver for the 2025 Sao Paulo Grand Prix is Max Verstappen with 58% of the votes, ahead of Lando Norris on 17% and Kimi Antonelli, both on 17%. However, if I look at the exact numbers, so 168 people went Norris, 165 people went Antonelli. So Norris takes it. And then 5% of you, 53 of you, went Ollie Behrman, which I absolutely respect. Absolutely respect that. But Max takes a big, sizable dub. Stop saying it doesn't add up to 100, Luke, Gil, and the rest of you. God, there's always one or two or three of you. pulling that old card. Yeah, banger driver, Max Verstappen. For me, I gave it Kimi. I think that's fair. Clanger driver, for me, I've given it Gabby. And I think you have to... I'm kind of more looking at the whole weekend and the knock-on effects of things. Ultimately, and I get why he went for the move, but to pull that move that he did, trying to pass, I believe it was Alex, wasn't it? For like 10th in a sprint race. I get it's his home Grand Prix. He sees the lights and this amazing move into turn one. It would have been a great move if he pulled it off, but there wasn't the grip on the inside, clearly, to go for that move because of it being a drying track and you've got the dry line and it was very damp still offline. To go for that move for a position that wasn't even a point, like, and again, I get it. And I want to see drivers going for moves, but it's such a horrific accident. Like, it's a massive repair job. Then doesn't make qualifying. And then in the race, you know, he has a decent start. But, and look, I know it's many people will just automatically jump on anything that Stroll's involved in and blame Stroll. But, like, Bortoletto's got his nose there, and he's not even remotely alongside Lance. Lance doesn't need to give him space. He's got his front wing like alongside Lance, the back of Lance Stroll's rear wheels. I don't think Lance needs to give. Gabby needs to pull out at that chance. That gap's closing, and he either needs to. Well, there's two things. You either lift off and let Lance take that space, or you keep your foot in it and then go off track and hit the wall. And not great. Now, of course, there were plenty of other clangers. Louise, you rightly point out Yuki, who hit Lance. He got the team messed up with the pit stop 10-second penalty thing, so he had to do it again, which obviously isn't his fault. And obviously, it's a tricky Red Bull, and they both went out in Q1, didn't they? Yuki and Max. So I'll give Yuki a little bit of benefit of doubt there. Obviously, Lewis as well, driving in the back of Colapinto, was not good. And just quali difficult goes out in Q2 as well. But, for me, Bortoletto, unfortunately, has to take clanger driver this weekend. Unfortunately. Your clanger driver, however, is Oscar Piastri. 27% of the vote. And this is really interesting because basically you were entirely split between four drivers. 27% Oscar, 24% Yuki, 23% Gabriel, 19% Hamilton. So basically everyone went for one of those three drivers. Also, Stroll got 25 votes, which is harsh considering he got spun out. And he wasn't at fault for the Bortoletto incident, in my opinion. And 18 of you voted for Ocon as well. Which, considering where Ollie finished, not great. But yeah, basically all of you went for one of these four drivers. It's kind of interesting. And obviously in a championship perspective, the incident on Saturday, I do think it is as unlucky as it is a mistake. But I get it as well. Like, it just... And obviously the incident with Antonelli, again, we'll get into that. Because I have... it's one of them where... not sure. I'm not quite sure I agree with the... I don't think there's a consensus, actually, but we'll do a poll shortly, won't we? Right, okay. So, Bang and Clanger. So, we've gone different, actually. Different on both of our votes. Banger team. I've gone Haas. I have gone Haas for Banger team. You might say, well, Ocon, Ocon didn't finish very well. The thing is, Ocon was starting in the pit lane. He had a bad quali. He started in the pit lane and was P12 in the end. But again, within 2 seconds of P7, I think Esteban, he got a bit unlucky with the timing of the safety car as well at the start, which kind of mugged him a bit. I think Haas delivered a car that absolutely both drivers had pace to get into the points, and Ollie proved it with a convincing point scoring finish, convincing P6. So I'm going to give it to Haas. Banger team for me. Haas, banger team. I think, the team did their job excellently for both of their drivers, in my opinion. Your banger team is Mercedes, 56% of the vote. Again, completely makes sense from a constructor's point of view, particularly. With Antonelli and Russell, 28% of you racing balls. Only 5% of you went with Haas for banger team. Niche, but it is what it is. And 4% of you went with McLaren. And then, finally, clanger team. For me, Williams. I'm giving it to Williams. And I know a lot of you in the chat are going to be like, oh, Ferrari. The thing is, I think Charles qualified third. He was kind of caught up in that incident. He was through no fault of his own. I don't think Ferrari gave Charles a bad car this weekend. Lewis was struggling like he has been so often this year. But actually the gaps between Lewis and Charles, in quali, it wasn't that big. He was in sprint quali, Lewis was 79 thousandths off of Charles. In normal quali, he was 0.3 off. But it was such fine margins. I do think Ferrari delivered a car that could have, and unfortunately from Lewis, we didn't get to see it because of the damage he picked up. I try, for me, when I'm going for teams, I'm trying to look at what the teams delivered. And they cocked up with Carlos in sprint quali. Alex felt like he could have had a better strategy, wasn't happy with his strategy call. He said they stayed out too long and felt like points should have been on the board for him. I just think Williams as a team did not maximise the car they had underneath them this weekend. Ferrari, both drivers crashed. Well, exactly. It wasn't the team's fault that the drivers crashed. I try and look at what the team did, and I think Williams had the clangingest weekend, under-delivered from a team point of view the most. Williams, this is definitely a weakness, 100%. We've seen this way too often this year. Williams operationally are not good. They have to, I think they're probably the weakest team operationally. I feel like so many weekends we see, particularly Carlos, sometimes Alex as well, complaining that operationally they've messed up for whatever reason. So I just don't know why I'm fiddling with this super glue and I've just got it on my hands, which is really annoying. Williams, sort it out. Not good enough. James, come on. Get your act together, son. So, yours is Ferrari. 66% of the vote. 12% Aston Martin, 12% Red Bull, 7% Williams. So, again, niche pick for me for Williams, but it is what it is. We're different. Once again, we are different in all of our bangers and clangers votes. But I'm happy with mine. I'm satisfied with mine. You're satisfied with yours, and we will move on. Okay? I mean, I get the Red Bull vote because obviously both cars went out in Q1. So, as much as they did recover the car, also how much of that is just, Max obviously did an incredible job. The team were able to sort out Max's car, but also, they messed up Yuki's 10-second stop. Again, they didn't deliver the car if Red Bull have got to that setup sooner, Max is winning that Grand Prix. If Max isn't starting at the back, the pace he had, I think he's absolutely going to win that race, and it is a bit of an opportunity missed. So, depends on your perspective, doesn't it? Depends on your perspective. So, these are the running totals. If you're interested, you can see them on screen right now. Banger drivers for me. Verstappen, Norris, Antonelli, you have 3 votes apiece. Lawson's got most clangers with 4. Mercedes and Haas most bangers with 4. And Alpine Williams most clangers with 4. And then yours, comfortable banger driver for you is Verstappen, 5 this year. Clanger Lawson with 4. Banger Mercedes with 5. Clanger Ferrari with 5. Damn, that's how they're totting up over the course of the entire season. Okay. Simply lovely. Simply lovely. Thank you, Aaron Wilkes, for the super chat. Appreciate that. And thank you, Suyan, as well. A worst home race debut ever for any driver in F1 in the modern era for Gabby. Also, question mark. Also, since that Texas upgrade, Haas has transformed. The video that I think I'm going to do this week, and it probably might come out a little bit later than normal. It might actually come out on Wednesday, because I'm out tomorrow. I've got a busy day tomorrow. And I'm not going to be able to dedicate the time I would otherwise to that video, so it might come out Wednesday, is since that Texas upgrade, Haas has transformed, sure, but mainly on Ollie's side of the garage. Esteban has not been close to Ollie as of late. Like, their quali head-to-head in recent weekends has been heavily. So, 0.547, 0.806, 0.050, 0.215, 0.844, 0.569, 0.338, 0.261. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 head-to-heads. 9-0 to Ollie, quali head-to-heads. And those were the gaps. I mean, the average off the top of my head, I mean, it's more than 3/10. Like, way more than 3/10. Like, what's going on? What's happened? What's happened to Esteban? Something happened to Esteban? Has Ollie just stepped up massively and is now the GOAT? I want to look into that further. So I'm going to maybe do that for my video. But it's good to see Haas back fighting at the front. Again, I went to Haas earlier this year and they were saying about, they've decided that they made the conscious decision to bring more upgrades for this year, sensing that there was an opportunity in the... oh my God, I've just glued the super glue to my desk. This is ridiculous. Sense an opportunity to move up and get more prize money, which would offset the R&D cost of bringing more upgrades, and they decided to do that, and it seems to have paid off. So if they can gain a couple of positions, I'm kind of backing Haas here. I kind of want to see him do it, Then I'll because if they don't gain any positions relative, it would have been a waste of resource and money at the end of the day. But if they do, then happy days. We just need Esteban in the points as well. Thank you, Ease. Do you think we'll get an Abu Dhabi 21 showdown? Hell no. Nothing will match Abu Dhabi 21. That's just such an anomaly. That will just never happen again. Like, to be that close, crazy. Video idea, your dream calendar for 2026, Nova. That doesn't sound too bad, I do need... I'm going to do another video. I'll probably do that, I think, this week. A Haas Bearman Ocon video for this week. And then, maybe next do something along those lines before we go to Vegas. Because we've got a little week off now, haven't we? DH, Max bottled with last lap stop for the softs instead of staying out. I mean... They must have had the data to make that call. I did find it quite interesting. I was like, interesting. Like, could you just stay on the mediums? And he was like 7.5 seconds ahead of Lando. But they must have, it's hard to know for sure because obviously all the cars are burning off fuel, so they're as light as they are at any point in the Grand Prix right at the end. So how does that affect tyre? You'd think that would help the tyres a bit. It typically does help the tyres a bit, but they must have felt the need, and better that than to risk, the tyre just completely falling off a cliff and puncturing. Perhaps you're way more susceptible to a puncture when the tyre's degraded. So there's a lot of things that can go wrong. Saying that, so Rebel must have had the data to suggest we should pull him in. Thank you, Pascal, as well, for the super chat. 62 points for Sauber so far. I'm happy with that. Sauber, Pascal, Audi. Let's hope they can cook next year. Absolutely. But 62 points for Sauber. You can be very, very satisfied with that. Even if they finish P9, it's definitely a positive end to this ground effect regulation. A positive end. I've learnt to never, ever question Hannah's strategy calls. Absolutely. Right. We've done all bangers and clangers, haven't we? That's all done. That's finished. So we've got to go team by team now, haven't we? Team by team to make sure we've covered everything anything and everything, and Red Bull were the first team to appear on screen. What more is there to say that I haven't said already? Again, with the sprint, they kind of used Yuki as a bit of a test bed, and then, delivered a setup package that Max was able to make the fastest car on track. If they had, they must be kicking themselves to an extent to be, we just found that sooner, because then they wouldn't have had the horrific qualifying that they did. Max was really close to making it out of Q1. He was within like half a tenth of Hulkenberg, and maybe if it just squeezed out of Q1, it could have made the butterfly effect. You'll never know. But yeah, all in all, an unreal drive from Max, of course. Like, just the progress he made, it makes it feel, because they were slow in qualifying, because they had a pretty meddling sprint, 6th in sprint quali, 4th in the race for Max. Like, yeah, I mean, that was just like, Max out in Q1? What's going on here? But again, it just illustrates that operating window on that Red Bull is too small. Even for Max, it's still too small. And they need to make sure that's not the case for next year. Because if they do, then it means Max can more consistently compete at the front, but also that second driver's got a better chance of being able to extract performance, which Yuki, unfortunately, isn't able to right now, Shame. But yeah, all in all, I think from a championship point of view, from a constructor's point of view, it's a gain relative to Ferrari, sure. But, I mean, it won't be the Brazilian weekend that they would have hoped for at Red Bull. I can assure you that. So, it's probably still... I'd probably still consider it a bit of an L from a weekend quality point of view. For the balls that are red, I'm afraid. Aston Martin, so promising, wasn't it? It was so promising. You felt like, sprint quali, they were flying. Both Stroll and Alonso in SQ3. And just today for the race, just went with the hards, gambled a bit on strategy, felt like it was worth it. Stroll got spun out. So there's some factors outside of their control, but still for Fernando not to finish in the top 10 is kind of tough. Like, missed opportunity. You look at Haas's execution this weekend, and you look at Aston Martin's execution, and again, easy to say in hindsight, but Aston just, didn't maximise the car underneath them. Been very difficult to consistently rate Aston Martin, but they clearly had a quick car this weekend, and they didn't score any points in the race, which is kind of not good enough. Same with Aston every weekend. They look good in practice and quality. Then they suck in the race. Critic, sorry. Yes, they need to get on top of that for next year, because Lawrence will not want this to continue. He will not be happy with this unknown, I guess, lingering over the team. Tough day at the office for the Martins of Aston. Mercedes, yeah, I mean, weird that just Kimi just had one over on George all weekend, and we've seen this. We saw this in Miami, where Kimi was just quicker than George. We've now seen this in Sao Paulo, where Kimi was just quicker than George. Doesn't happen often, but for Kimi to be able to deliver a weekend like this in his rookie season at 19 years of age is very impressive. And I said that before in my mid-season kind of ratings video that, Mercedes only needed to see a higher potential weekend once from Kimi to kind of know that they've probably made the right call. And, Canada podium, Miami was great, and you can now add Sao Paulo to the list. Maybe his even strongest weekend in totality. Like, big performance from Andrea Kimi Antonelli. And as much as it's one weekend for George, the vast majority of the time, and he's still got a convincing head-to-head lead over Antonelli in quali pace, and typically in the races, it's George you'll bank on. I predicted George to win the Grand Prix, and it was Antonelli who came not all that... It was closer than anyone else. Yeah, I mean, has George got to be concerned? No, I don't think he needs to go that far. But I think, again, performances like this will embolden Toto to back Kimi, whatever it takes, and say this whole Verstappen connection gets spoken about again next year. Weekends like this certainly don't help George Russell's cause. But at the same time, I think it's more Antonelli. I don't think George had a particularly bad weekend. I just think, Antonelli really stepped up and felt comfortable. And it's like a big kart track around Brazil. And Kimi Antonelli's karting record is a sight to behold. Look it up on Wikipedia. It's unbelievable. So yeah, well done, Kimi. What more can I say? George is driving at an incredibly high level this season, but Kimi was by far the better, relatively speaking, by far. Consistently the better Mercedes driver this weekend. I just think that's objectively true. So well done, Kimi. And that's good news for Mercedes long term, because they've got him for as long as they can keep him under contract, I guess. Consistency comes with experience. Most of the great drivers have a crash-happy reputation as a rookie. Yeah, you got to get it out your system. As long as you are learning and improving your outcomes over time, which I think Max has proven, which I think Charles has proven, which I think George has proven, which I think right now Lando, as much as his mistakes weren't typically big crashes, like, he's actually now very consistent and looking very good for the title, isn't he? Consistency is key, and that's Max's biggest trait over the rest of the field, in my opinion. That's what I think anyway. So well done, Mercedes. Very good. Williams, not so good. Again, operationally, seem to be the weakest team on the grid. I feel like so often I'm talking about Williams messing up strategy. This kind of recent meme that is like, only one Williams can have a good weekend. Like, it's impossible for them to both have a clean weekend. Alex was getting them all at the start of the year. Then there was a patch where Carlos was getting a bunch and Alex was getting a bit unlucky and making mistakes. And Carlos has made mistakes, of course, as well. But the team just don't seem to be well drilled enough. And there seems to be operationally weaknesses within that team. That, again, if they can deliver a car, James Vowles has talked the talk about, we're writing off this year for 2026. Boom. You can create a beautiful car. But if you can't maximise it, like I was saying about Aston Martin and Haas, then no good. No good at all. Alex, fastest lap at least. That's a good shout, Yang. Anytime we get to see Alex Albon on screen is a win. So, well done, Alex, for that. But nil points on race day, nil points all weekend, in fact, which shouldn't have been the case. I agree. Should not have been the case. McLaren. Well, yeah, look, again, I think Lando just had a simply lovely weekend. No real complaints. He would have liked a bit more pace in the race, and I do think, yes, without if Max and Red Bull would come across this setup earlier on in the weekend, then Lando's got a big Dutch bloke to worry about, and it wasn't the case, and he won comfortably in the end. He was probably managing the pace, because why put your engine through unnecessary rev ranges when you're comfortably leading? So, yeah, no complaints from their point of view. And look, I think Oscar questioned his strategy. Hard to say whether he should have stayed out on the softs or managed the softs a bit more or whatever. But I guess this is now the opportunity to talk about the incident, which I'm going to now create a poll. Who was at fault for the Piastri Antonelli incident? So, of course, 3 options as per. So, Piastri, who was given a 10-second penalty. A racing incident, which is always an option, because then you just don't do anything, essentially. or was it Antonelli? Let me know in the poll who you think was at fault. And I do think this is one of those where you really have to look at it from all of the angles. So, of course, we get the kind of chopper cam that flies around and looks at it and shows you the relative distances between both Piastri, Antonelli and Leclerc. You really do, I think, have to look at Piastri's onboard and Antonelli's onboard. Charles' onboard, is not really that helpful because the chopper cam tells you all you need to know, really. But of course, on the restart, Lando leads through, he's fine. Kimi gets a bit of wheel spin, which then costs him a bit of momentum, so he kind of messes that up a bit, which then gives the opportunity both to Charles Leclerc and to Oscar Piastri, which means 3 wide, which rarely is a good thing. Because, of course, when you're 3 wide, when you're on the outside, you don't know what the guy on the inside is doing, and vice versa. Now, Oscar goes up the inside. At some point, he is fully alongside Antonelli, and then Antonelli goes a little bit later on the brakes. And you've got to remember, turn 1 at Interlagos is very cambered down as well, because you're kind of going downhill, you're kind of going uphill to the start-finish line, and then it kind of cambers downhill. So the camber helps you turn into an extent as well. And it affects the dynamics of the cars. And obviously Charles gone on the outside, he's trying to give a nice wide berth, carry the speed, and was looking good. Piastri's, again, fully alongside Antonelli, ahead of the braking zone. Then Piastri, whether he brakes a little bit later or just doesn't brake as hard or just lifts, I don't know. I've not seen the exact kind of traces. And then Piastri's on the inside. Piastri locks up, and which is absolutely why he got the penalty, because most of the time when an attacking car on the inside locks up and there is contact, most of the time it is undoubtedly that driver on the inside's fault and they are meriting of a penalty. I do think this one's a little bit different though, but I can understand why the stewards are looking at the rule book, which again, I'm not interested in. Like, oh, is this what it says in the rule book? Like, do I look at that incident as a racing fan and believe that should be a penalty, that should be considered a racing incident? It's weird. All the lights on the internet are the right lights. Are we back yet? Are we back now? I think we're back now. Yeah. I don't know what's going on. I have no idea what's going on. This is just happening. I think we're back. Chat, is anyone there? Are you alive? Hello? Hello? Why is this happening? Good news is that I will be in a fairly new setup fairly soon. Bad news is that I can't guarantee this won't happen because this has never happened before in this setup, and it is happening right now. Chat is dead. There's no one in chat. There's basically no one's here. So I don't know what's going on. I think I'm live, but it says unable to get to chat. Please try again later, which is not really an option to me, YouTube, when I'm on our live stream trying to do this at 7 minutes past midnight, when I really want to go to bed. I'm talking about a really important part of the race. And now, why is it doing this? Please stop. Oh, we are back. Yeah? We are back. Oh, you didn't even return chat, and I was like, right, I've got to refresh the refresh YouTube Studio. It didn't tell me that you were back, so I've just ridiculousness. Okay, so anyway, the incident. Watch Kimi Antonelli's onboard is what I would say, because watching Kimi Antonelli's onboard, I find it a bit mad that he turned in the way he did, because Oscar is objectively fully alongside Kimi ahead of the braking zone. Kimi brakes a bit later or carries less brake pressure, whatever it is. And Charles said this, because Charles agrees. Charles thinks that the penalty was harsh. And he's like, the way Kimi Antonelli turned in while Oscar was clearly significantly alongside, and I don't give a toss about, at the apex, you got to be so... Like, as a racing fan watching that, Kimi turning in the way he did was crazy. Like, given how far alongside Oscar was, the contact was inevitable. And Leclerc, he had room. That's the thing. Antonelli didn't need to take that tight of a line. And I do believe it's because Kimi turned in as aggressively as he did and basically took the corner, tried to take the corner like normal. That is why Oscar locked up. And I think that is, when you watch Kimi's on board, which again I would recommend you find Kimi's on board, that to me just makes that very clear. So I would say racing incident. Because yes, Oscar does lock a wheel, but at the same time, even if Oscar had broken a little bit earlier and hadn't quite locked up, the way Kimi attacks that corner, there's still going to be contact. You know? McLaren not appealing Piastri's penalty makes me mad. The thing is, Amir, they've served the penalty. Once they've served it, they can't do anything. Like, there's no point. Like, they can't change it. So there's not really any merit to McLaren. Like, maybe from a driver guidelines, like maybe Oscar would like to appeal it from like a understanding of the rules. And again, it's because he locked up. That's why they gave the penalty. But I think practically, you can't put 100% of the blame on Oscar's feet when you look at how Kimi just took the corner like there wasn't a car significantly alongside. So much so that Oscar is completely alongside going into the braking zone, and still significantly alongside throughout the entire, So it's like, what does Kimi expect him to do? Like, he can't go any more left because you're under the brakes. You can't. The more you turn, that's how these things happen. That's how brake lockups happen. If you're braking in a straight line, sweet. If you're braking in a straight line and then apply steering lock, there's a good chance you lock the brakes. That's just how you can't achieve the same braking performance while turning the wheel as you can braking in a straight line. And if all of a sudden you see this Antonelli car flying in, your instincts are going to be, well, turn the wheel away from him and go more on the brakes, and then that causes a lockup, That is the best way to cause a lockup. Tough, but yeah, is what it is. Not ideal. Can't unserve the penalty, and Oscar's going to have to take that L, I'm afraid. I mean, he's kind of, Kimi took out Max earlier on in the year. Now he's kind of inhibited Oscar's championship challenge, so all I'll say is, Lando Norris, be careful. Be very, very careful. If you come across Kimi Antonelli on track, be very careful. Right, what we got super chats. I do apologise for the terrible connection. I have no idea what happened there. It happened twice. It might happen again, but fingers crossed it won't. Please don't. Internet, please be good. Thank you, Gladiator Knight. Why is it that when Norris is behind, McLaren are able to come up with a creative strategy to help, but it doesn't happen for Oscar? I mean, I don't know. I know what you're getting there at there, Gladiator. The other super chat, Piastri's got the rough end of a couple of contentious penalties this year. Does nothing for the allegations when you look at Norris in Canada or Colapinto in Austria. I mean, there's nothing like McLaren aren't gonna. I think in the writing of the rules, the stewards would stick by that penalty, to be honest, because he locked up. But again, as a racing observer, I think that, that penalty is very harsh. I mean, there's that. Do I think they're prioritising Lando? No, I don't. I actually don't. Like, it's easy to draw correlations, but correlation isn't always causation. Like, sometimes these things. I think the most contentious one, obviously Silverstone. When Oscar was like, "Oh, I think if you think the punishment for Oscar was harsh, then just tell Lando to give me back the position." I worded that terribly, but you know what I'm saying. I mean, really, I still don't see it. Sorry, I still don't see like a clear and obvious preferential treatment towards Lando Norris over Oscar Piastri. I just don't. I think that McLaren are, like, if they're going to prioritise a driver, they would just do it in a very transparent way. And I just think like they've chosen to create all these loopholes and PR stupidity for themselves. They wouldn't do that unless they were actually trying to be fair, which I don't think is really possible to achieve. I think they're trying too hard, but it is what it is. He's been unfortunate, but again, a lot of people do think Oscar was at fault for that one. Almost 50% of you in that poll thought that Oscar was at fault and deserved the penalty. So, it's clearly not a clear and obvious decision either. As much as you might think one way or the other, the fact that so many people think the opposite tells you that kind of tells you all you need to know. Thank you, Izam, as well. The stewards' decisions are so inconsistent. I mean, the thing is, every incident is unique, but at the same time, this is where permanent stewards would really help, because then the drivers would know, right, these are the stewards every weekend. These are the kind of incidents where they're going to look favourably or not so favourably, blah, blah, blah. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. Thank you, Sam. Best way to contact you for a business inquiry is my email, which is in the description of this, me@tommcluskey.co.uk. Or it's on my Twitter, it's on my LinkedIn. My business email is, it's in the description of all of my YouTube videos. So if you want to get in touch, Sam, do it over there. Thank you, Sam. Appreciate that. Yeah. Tough one to take for Oscar, but also he was just slower than Lando all weekend. And yeah, it's looking like he's run out of steam. / Lando's just operating at a level of consistency now that Oscar can't hang with. And he's done it just in time. Has Lando. And again, I think he's got it done now. I think the championship is now Lando's, the way he's driving and the way he's speaking about switching off the noise and all of that. I think this is exactly what he needs to be doing, and the results are they're clear. They're clear and obvious. They're clear and obvious, aren't they? So well done, Lando. Oscar, you're only in your third season. You've got a lot of time to grow, lad. He's done very well to be in it for as long as he has been, but I think this championship is now Lando Norris's. I do. Racing Bulls, big weekend, big performance. Big scrap, wasn't there? At the very end of the race between Isaac Hadjar and Liam Lawson. And Hadjar kind of put his hands up a bit. He was a bit too aggressive. And there was contact between the two of them. Almost took them both out, which would have been a horrific way for that race to end for Racing Bulls. But yeah, I think they were both very evenly matched kind of all weekend. Hadjar and Lawson, what was the quali gaps between them? I mean, to be fair, in sprint quali, Hadjar put almost 0.6 on Lawson, so that's something. But I think Hadjar would have, he qualified P5, finished P8. He would have expected more, but strategy didn't quite work out for him. He made a bit of a mistake early doors as well, didn't he? He lost positions early on. So yeah, look, all in all, I think Liam's a very good driver, very capable driver. He had a bit of a run-in with Ollie Behrman as well, didn't he, in the sprint race? Liam's not made that many friends. I think, he's quite an aggressive driver, and that does rub a few drivers the wrong way. So maybe he's not helping his cause. Hadjar does seem to be, it feels like he's the more complete F1 driver right now. And again, you can criticise the Red Bull Junior program as much as you like. And I think there are very many valid criticisms. But this team, Toro Rosso Racing Bulls, V-Carb, Minardi, whatever you want to call it, has consistently shown that it is a very good team for producing, developing Formula One talent for other teams that aren't Red Bull, which is kind of a problem. But they are very good at creating great drivers, giving them that environment to thrive in. And we're seeing Hadjar and we're seeing Lawson do very well as well, So It is what it is. But yeah, well done Racing Bulls. Good weekend. Good weekend all round. A little bit of inter-team scrapping at the end, but no hard feelings between either driver, which was nice to see. Haas, wonderful. Ollie's killing it. Any Haas related thoughts? Let me know in the comments, because my video this week is going to be on Haas and Ollie and what's happened to Esteban. Unfortunately, look, like the game, the YouTube game is the YouTube game, and typically if you headline things in a more negative way, they tend to generate more interest and more clicks. That's just human nature. We fixate more on negative stuff than positive stuff. So I'll probably end up titling like what's happened to Esteban Ocon. Why is Esteban Ocon so slow at the moment? I don't know how I'd word it, but like he is being bodied by Ollie since that Austin upgrade. So that's an interesting topic of discussion. So we'll talk about it. In that has to be Dumbrev. Exactly that. Has to be Dumbrev. Komatsu is doing a very good job at a team that is massively underfunded relative to the rest of the grid, but Haas will be growing for sure. Obviously, Toyota have their technical partnership, relationship, whatever it is, with Haas, and hopefully they can be big time soon enough. Maybe Haas will become a title sponsor one day, and it'll be the Toyota Formula 1 team. That'd be very, very, very cool. Very, very, very cool indeed. One on Haas and Ocon. I'm concerned because I've been a long-term Ocon defender, and obviously my bias allegiance is absolutely with Ollie. But I want to see him. I want to see him doing better. I want to see Esteban at his best. Esteban. I really do. Ferrari again, just Charles super unlucky. Great job in qualifying to get where he was, and was on for a very good race result. Lewis just, super sloppy. That contact with Colapinto, not what you'd expect from Lewis, really not. And just a tough weekend. His press conference afterwards, he was very open. He was very like, look, it's kind of this dream goes from like, blissful joy to absolute horror. Like, he's driving for Ferrari. It's kind of the dream move, but geez, weekends like this make it really tough. This is all about learnings for next year at the end of the day for Lewis, but weekends like this are not going to help his cause. And yeah, the car was sketchy. The car was very, very sketchy. I don't think you can say definitively that it's like, oh, Lewis is too old and any of that, right? His quali head-to-heads with Charles have been very respectable. In the last... So, here we go, right? So, in Brazil qualifying, Lewis is 3/10 off Charles, right? Fair, not great, not good, right? Prior to that, so sprint quali, he was 79 thousandths off Charles. Then in Mexico, he was 900ths off Charles. Then in Austin normal quali, he was 0.105 off Charles. Then in Austin sprint quali, he was 69 thousandths ahead of Charles. Then in Singapore normal quali, he was 96 thousandths ahead of Charles. Like, those are 5 Grand Prix where he's within or ahead by something within a tenth. And that's one lap pace, which is Charles' best trait. Racecraft probably, but up there. Lewis is, I think, just fine. I think Lewis is just fine. Do I think he lacks race pace? I don't know. Is he? Does he lack race pace? It's the nuances of this Ferrari. The brakes are very different for him. Perhaps he does lack race pace. Yeah, maybe that is a valid point. But I think there's reasons outside of his talent, his ability, that justify the that lack of race pace. And came at Fring. You still don't think Lando's? Surely now you think Lando's gonna clutch it out now. I think that criticism of Lando's mentality has been somewhat valid in the past, but actually I think the way he's approaching each weekend now, and again the way he's speaking after, I'm a lot more confident in the Lando I'm seeing right now than I ever have been. You know, I do. But yeah, anyway, Ferrari, nil point. Shame. Alpine, well done for not being washed this weekend. Colapinto, there was a bit of a gap, bit too big of a gap between Colapinto and Gasly this weekend. 7.5 tenths in normal quali and 3.5 in sprint quali. But I think that was Gasly just, putting his finger out and being like, right, we're going to get this car into the points because it's been far too long and we should be good round here. And they were. So, well done, Pierre Gasly, for delivering points in what is by far the worst car. But clearly, it's mad to think that Alpine got a point in both races and, Williams didn't score a single point this weekend. Aston only scored in the sprint. Gasly, I knew you had it in you, son. I knew you had it in you. All right? I knew it. Lovely to see. And then Sauber, again, gutted for Bortoletto. But Hulkenberg, you take it. He seemed to be Bortoletto had a absolute howler this weekend. But, Hulkenberg into Q3, was stuck behind Alex for a lot of the race, but P9 in the end could have... There's a lot of drivers who could have got that P7 where Lawson ended up. But Hulkenberg definitely had a shout at it. Definitely had a shout at it. Boom. Right. Okay. Hulk on the ancient softs. Absolutely. I think we'll wrap it. Been live for an hour and 26 minutes, although about 10 minutes of that was me having no connection, which was fun. That's always nice when that happens, which hasn't happened before here and finally has happened. So I do apologise for that. But if you did listen to this on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, you will see the whole thing of me talking to the void and waiting for the chat to return. So give that a butch. Why don't you? Why not? Video this week and probably on Wednesday. And then, we'll do another video next week, whatever it is. And then Vegas is the next Grand Prix. No race this weekend, but we'll be back in Vegas to talk all about it in the city that never sleeps. But I do sleep, and so should you if you are still awake and you're in Europe or the UK or whatever. So, thank you all for joining. Flea Casey Aqua, Dean, DH, Cartridge, NK McFrin, Not Yet, Lemon, Dawood, Spark, Bass, Alex, AMC, Lou, McFillan, Viol, Dawood, Oscar, Awkward MMA, Spark, Stick, Tack, Aqua, Brick Ops, Frenzy, Pascal, Yard Animal, Ken, Patrick, Tom, Razy Fingers, and the rest of you. I need to sleep. And I need to have a shave because the beard's getting a bit out of hand. Pleasure as always. My name's Tomo. Thanks again. Have a good one. Ta-da.